Just check beside your chair, you'll see the key parts. So our first question is, which of the session of the workshop yesterday, which of the session was the most educating? Which of the session of the workshop was the most educating yesterday? The first session, of course, is the opening ceremony. Then we had 2 opportunity sessions and 1 technical session. So this, when you see second session is the first opportunity session. When you see third session is the technical session. When you see fourth session is the second opportunity session. So let's vote, please. Thank you. All right, the first is the opportunity session. The second is the technical session. The third is the opportunity session. We've removed the opening part of the program. So let's vote for just the sessions. That's the opportunity sessions and the technical sessions. All right, can we have the results? Thank you. Wow, this is close. The second session, that's a technical session. We had 24, that's 40%, 35%, and 25%. Close. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you, we appreciate you.
So with me here are critical stakeholders in the industry, those who are making things happen, those who have prepared the opportunity platform to become what it looks like today. And you've all heard the introductions. So I would start clearly by, laying the foundation. Now, as you know, for this industry to exist and function effectively, NMPC being a major player and, of course, an NOC, right, has had to stretch itself to de-risk several opportunities so that the market can grow at a pace that would improve industrialization and also raise the necessary awareness in the market. So I'll start with you, sir. Do you mind letting the audience today have a feel of what NMPC as a company, now a limited liability company, sees as the immediate opportunities within, based on infrastructure, based on market dynamics, and also NMPC's willingness to implement some of those ideas within its plan for gas growth, expansion, and value chain integration?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Perhaps to begin with, this is, I believe, a gas station, and that it's good to remind our audience that we are in a transition mode as far as energy mantra is concerned worldwide. And it has been established generally that gas is the transition fuel for the remaining part, for a better part of this century. Having said so, at NNPC, we are the drivers of the oil industry as far as the assets and other supporting, if you like, infrastructure is concerned. Yesterday, we had a session on upstream, and the upstream guys showed us the opportunities that exist within the upstream for them to bring out gas. And as you bring out the gas, you need some investors. While you need the investors will also need to see who will consume the gas. An investor cannot invest if he does not have a line of sight of who is offtaking the gas. Now, he can also not invest if he does not see line of sight of the infrastructure that is therein to take up the gas to its destination. So there is a linkage here. While he at the upstream will look out for the appropriate pricing for his own gas, will look out for the infrastructure, look out for the off-taker. But I'm not here to speak for the upstream guys. Our own aim here is to mobilize the gas, take it to midstream, process it, move it, and then distribute it. I think this is what this session is going to talk about. Now, and to do this, we begin by looking out for the basis of the opportunities that are there in the gas sector. These opportunities are basically driven by the decade of gas launched by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is basically aimed at monetizing the gas molecules that we have around the country. I wouldn't want to bother you with statistics because there were some statistics that were rolled out yesterday as regards the number of, the volume of gas we have in country. However, one thing still remains, that the gas molecules are inadequately monetized and utilized as well. Several factors account for this. I'm not going to go into that. Now, to also bring to point our being here, I know a lot of investors are around who would want to partake in this meat pie cutting. I assure you it is a very big meat pie, and therefore get your pens and papers and let us have a summary of what we have on ground. One, we look at the upstream. The upstream has been said. The downstream, you have the processing plants, which we require in order to process the molecules, the gas that will be brought out by the upstream people. And then we have the infrastructure that we will have to lay to move the gas. And then we have the marketers who will also have to market the gas to the final consumer. Now, several of these can be grouped into 1, 2, 3, 4. One of them, major project we have on ground is the AKK. That is about 614 kilometers that spans from the east and up to the north, which has the potential also to go up to Algeria. And this is a very, very huge opportunity. Where are the financiers? Where are the transporters? Where are the bankers? And so on and so forth. Then you also have the other one that transfers from the southeast as well, south-south as well, up to Morocco, and then which will, at the end of the day, end up in Spain or thereabout in Europe. There is also a huge opportunity to tap in there, either in terms of pipeline manufacture, pipeline welding, provision of ancillary services for that line, and also there are also opportunities for those who would want to come in and key in, supply some of the stations that will be built there. So you have a lot of them. And then you have the OB3 that is ongoing. This is aimed at linking some of the gas areas that are isolated. But by the time we cross that river, you have a line of sight of where your gas is, and therefore you have the potentials of increasing gas supply into the pipeline. Then you have the transportation guys who are out to make money, or who would want to put their money into either auto gas or gas for the trucks. You also have them around, and then you can do your CNG and so on and so forth. But most importantly, there is power sector. The power sector is likely to be the major off-taker of this gas. And on the AKK line alone, we have about 3 major power plants. One is about 1,350. We have about 1,200 and so on. So there are a lot of opportunities inbuilt into the gas sector, which you can tap and make do with. I think I'll stop here to wait for further. Thank you.
I think they have your slides just right behind you. And you've covered most of it. So I will spare you at that moment and move to Jörg. Jörg, do you mind presenting your slides?
If you so wish, I can do that.
Oh, okay. Do you want to do yours instead? Yeah, if you can walk through briefly, and that would help us.
Okay.
But I think you've covered most of it, and ideally, you were quite as precise as possible.
Very smart.
Okay, once more, I will skip some of these slides as we move on so that we just attend to those that I have not spoken to. First of all, we had this, if you like, the statistics, and that has been shown. Opportunities, I want to move away from that for now. I'll go to the next slide. This is the transportation capacity focus. It is for, the focus here is that by end 2035, we are likely to have about 7.7 BCF per day of gas for distribution. And this is this housing a lot of opportunities here from the human's angle and as well material and if you like the machinery and equipment that will be therein. I saw somebody from Oil Savia yesterday, one of the contractors of the AKK. I would request that some of you that have been playing for a long time in this gas sector need to come up with a strategy to establish a pipeline milling factory in country. And I think our brother, Mr. Simbi, will be adequately available to assist in that direction, because that's the only way we save a lot of money in terms of foreign exchange. I also touched on the Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline. You could see how it traversed from the Port Harcourt area up to Morocco, and is likely to cross back into the European sphere, where it will now supply gas into it. And that is going to be about 5,000 kilometers up to Doha, Morocco, and then the onshore from northern Morocco, it's going to be about 1,700 kilometers, while it will also connect to the existing Maghreb European pipeline as it moves on. So the gas infrastructure, therefore, likely to be world's longest offshore pipeline, which will cover about 5,600 kilometers, traversing African countries, planned to connect Nigeria to Morocco. Now, why I'm bringing out this here is that to outline the kind of opportunity that you have in place, and therefore make you have a strategy to see how you key into that. Now, I also had a kind of highlight on the Ajaokuta Kaduna Kano pipeline project. It's a 40-inch pipeline. It's going to traverse 614 kilometers and coming into FCT, going past to Niger, Kaduna, and subsequently Kano. Now, you will understand, you will agree with me that the Kano, by its population, has a lot of potentials in terms of industrial industries springing up there. Any investor will like to go to Kano because of the population. There is market, and where there is market, there's need to invest there. So that's where you have. This is going to come along with 22 block valve stations, where the procurement guys, you need to grab those contractors and have engagements with them. Where are the technicians, who service providers, you need to grab those contractors and speak with them to ensure that you get your own part of the pie. This project, as has been highlighted elsewhere, is being carried out by NNPC, is funded by NNPC, and we will continue to do that. For those who may think that we are not moving, a check at the pipeline will show you that we are almost there. Then the Trans-Sahara gas pipeline, it has already started by the AKK, and when we get to the corridor of the end of Nigeria, Niger is supposed to take place, and several engagements are ongoing. Algeria has done a part of its own, so what we need to do is a connection between where we will end and where Niger will take up, and several engagements are ongoing to do that. What you have here is a kind of investment opportunities in the upstream. I do not want to bore you with this, and I believe just a flashing of this on the screen should be enough, because Mr. Wunti has taken up that yesterday. Once again, these are the major highlights of what I have spoken to, and investment opportunities now. We can look at the power plants. This I have also highlighted. You have the 1,350 in Abuja. You have 900 megawatts in Kaduna, 1,350 as well in Kano as power plants. You can come, we can partner. If you like, you can come bring your financing, whatever model you want. Meet us at NNPC. We are ready to partner with whoever that is opportune to have interest in investment in those areas. The Gas Revolution Industrial Park is also another area that is worthy of mention here in terms of investment potentials, and up to $20 billion dollar investment is expected to be required to undertake those investment in that area. Now, the midstream, I also highlighted some of this, but for purpose of reiteration, we have the transportation, which will now look at the major trunk lines. Presently, you have only one major one, the Alps, and the second one is the AKK. And I think at this point there is need to highlight that there is the need to have a connection between the west and the east, and that is where we are struggling in terms of financing. For those who would want to take advantage of that, we are ready, humbly waiting for you to come. Come with those your bags of money, or if you are colleagues, investors, so that we see how we will now open up the southeast in terms of gas infrastructure. In addition, we also have the Ibadan-Ilori, that's the Alps, Ibadan-Ilori axis. That also is a stretch that has not been looked at. Those who are willing to invest in pipeline construction or having infrastructure for gas transportation, this is also another line of sight for opportunity to invest. The processing facilities are so many. There are those that can do 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 50 million scoff a day. It depends on what you want to do. There are those that would want to capture flare gas, process them, and then send them into the market. These are also opportunities for the would-be investors. Distribution, it is a known fact that in this country today, one of the major setback in terms of gas, domestic gas consumption is the non-availability of these tributaries that will take off gas from the major pipeline, distribute them to the will-be customers. And that requires some investment from those who are going into gas marketing. For those who would want to just play their part only in gas marketing, this is an area for you to delve in and then have your own investment to put. Having said so, I do not want to take too much time, and then I will now go back. I will ask us to go back to the investment opportunities so that in summary, we look at this. The upstream is basically to invest, but to invest in gas production, we need appropriate pricing, so we should be ready to pay for the appropriate pricing for the gas that we will offtake, such that the man that is exploring and then producing the gas will be comfortable to find those who would want to fund his investment. At the end of the day, we increase the volumes that we have. I have heard severally people talk about shortage of gas supply, and this is partly responsible for that. GSN is around, and Kelechi is around, and I believe they would have to look at it. Where are the financiers? Where are the investors? This is your time. You have seen several projects that are on ground, so try to make do with what you have, pull your resources together, come and assist this country to move forward. Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief have done enough to ensure that there is a level playing ground for us. He has passed the Industry Act, the Petroleum Industry Act, which is in place several incentives for gas players into especially the downstream. Guys are supposed to have a look at this act, see where the opportunities are, and take them head on. The midstream also is looking for those who will fund it, development of gas-based industries. We in this country are basically an agricultural economy. One thing we require is fertilizer to drive our agricultural output upward. Now, we cannot do that without having fertilizer blending plants or producing plants. So where are those who are interested in producing fertilizer for our farmers? Where are those who are interested in producing methanol and so on and so forth? So, and then the petchem itself, if you look around the room, a lot of these things that we see are from petrochemical industries, are drivable from the petrochemical industries. So there is enormous investment opportunities there in the midstream for people to come and put their money in. Then lastly, on this midstream, you have the opportunity for strategic gas marketing in terms of LPG, CNG, and then the domestic LNG. You will agree with me that there are very few, if at all there exist, in terms of virtual movement of gas. And that probably you will call Greenville, NIPCO, maybe you will have to stop there. So there are also opportunities there. There is issue for transportation. We want to migrate from PMS and as well diesel. Today, the diesel costs, depending on where you are, from 700 plus up to sometimes 900, 1,000, depending on which part of the country you are. This is an unregulated market, and when you bring in gas into this, you find out that probably you are likely to pay only a quarter of what you are paying for gas. So there is an ample opportunity for those who want to now invest in recalibrating the diesel vehicles we have, or if you like, bringing in trucks that are driven by gas such that you will minimize the cost for fuel. Then you have the domestic gas distribution, the LPG storage and manufacture of LPG cylinders. We cannot stop deforestation if we do not discourage the use of firewood or charcoal in our homes for cooking. And the only way to do this is to make available to all and sundry in country LPG, which is an alternative fuel to charcoal or firewood. And you cannot do that without investing in both gas cylinders and the production of gas itself. So you have to be creative in terms of what kind of cylinders you want to produce, what kind of marketing you want to do, such that it will be attractive to the will-be customer. We cannot but also put on record here, appreciate Mr. President and the Minister of Petroleum Resources, plus the ministry, who have done some significant work in this, alongside NNPC, especially in terms of trying to bring in gas into the transportation sphere to make it get popular. We are not yet there, but I believe we will be there. We are waiting for you to come invest so that at the end of the day, we should be able to have a country that have its trucks run on gas. Not only that, the automobile, that the small cars that we drive are mainly driven by PMS. And all of you will agree with me today that one of the challenges of this country today is the subsidy on PMS and how we navigate through that. We cannot, before we do that now, we have to crack our minds what will be the alternative. The alternative is try to either have an electric vehicle or you use gas to propel vehicles to move. So there are a lot of opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, It is left for us, as highlighted, to take these opportunities home, begin to crack our minds, and see where we can key in. Thank you so much for the audience.
Thank you very much. So in summary, NMPC is willing to partner with people who are serious, who have the money, and who want to take a part of these opportunities. I'll move to Jorg. Jorg, GLNG has de-risked this market through the virtual pipeline business and has also innovatively introduced LNG as a fuel for transportation and what have you. Would it be possible for you to discuss the opportunities you see in the immediate and long term through your slides?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please, I have the honor to introduce Greenville LNG Nigeria. Maybe you can start my presentation. Who's doing it?
Can you have the GLNG slides on, please? I think they have it here.
So, next please, yes. Greenville is a pioneer in production and distribution of LNG in the domestic market. So we are in our actual phase focused to the Nigerian market, and we invested $500 million in the first phase. The first phase was 3 trains in mini LNG plant and a fleet of LNG trucks. We have now 500 LNG trucks fueled with LNG to bring the gas everywhere in Nigeria. Our main market is at the moment in the north because there is no pipeline gas available. And we gave them the opportunity to have a cheap power solution. Also, we started with our LNG in the retail business. In the first phase, we are establish filling stations. We are already started with 5, and we ramp up to 42. And we have at the moment 45 big industrial clients, and we produce 2,250 tons per day, so when everything is running well. So at the moment we have 900 workers direct employed, and we enabled much more jobs in Nigeria through our power solution, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. Next slide, please. In the phase 2, Greenville wants to invest $250 million. We want to have a storage tank in Rumuji with 50,000 cubic meter. We will have another train, 4 and 5, 2 trains. And for that we need for sure an extension of our power plant. And we, as I said before, we will construct 42 LNG fuel stations, which is also offering CNG all over Nigeria. The timeline for that investment is that the trains for 120 million should be finished in December 24. The FID is pending because we're looking for the right location, and we want to clarify the feed gas. The power plant expansion is related to the first point. The LNG tank project is ongoing. The engineering is almost done, and next month we start with the construction. And filling stations, we started already. Here you see the map with the filling stations. The green ones are already functioning. The blue ones is under construction now. We acquired already the land and it started. and the red ones are planned, and we have, our plan is end of next year that the whole grid is done. So here I have some pictures that you see some insights. These are our LNG trucks. They have now more than 1,000 kilogram, and you can reach easily with our grid any point in Nigeria. And they are much safer than CNG trucks because there is no high pressure inside, and you need 6 times more tank capacities in CNG than for LNG. The second picture is our factory, and here you see the latest news about our opening of the filling station in Azawara, which happened very soon, very recently. Thank you very much for this introduction.
So, thank you very much, Jörg. Good presentation. So now the idea is that Greenville has already shown proof that these opportunities can actually be crafted and implemented. Now, beyond that, there's also the perception around Nigeria is investment ready, and this is proof that Nigeria is indeed ready. Thank you, Jörg. So, sir, I have to really call you sir because you are one of those that contribute to our livelihood in Nigeria. NLNG has been a major income earner for the country. Over the last 20 years, we've earned dividends of $18 billion plus. This is probably the most successful entity in Nigeria. And I think there must be some secret behind what you guys do. If you don't mind, make a presentation and tell us what these opportunities are, right? And don't worry, we won't ask you for any of that money, but please tell us the opportunities.
Okay. Good morning, conference. Permit me to stand on the existing protocols. I think, to answer your question, please, if you can have the slide. I think I'll start from the beginning. I think the story of Nigeria LNG is the story of Nigeria, and it's the story of an opportunity that came true. And I think it's important to note that the opportunities that we're going to share about NLNG is about what is making some of these other projects work. The Greenvilles and the UTM, and much more that will come. So Nigeria LNG, strong vision, global competitive, we're an export company, and we also have this strong focus on helping to build a better Nigeria, okay? And this is enabled, you asked by who? NNPC, and the 3 global gas companies, okay? So this partnership is one of the strongest things that has made LNG what it is today. Also to state that beyond LNG, we also have a sister company called Bonigas, and also a ship mining company called NLNG Ship Management Limited. So this is the background to what NLNG is. So let's go to the next slide, please. Like he rightly said, 5,000 LNG cargoes delivered safely globally, 23 dedicated LNG ships, 6 LNG trains, 22 million tons. Train 7 will add 35% to this, and is under construction now. And I think the opportunity realization value is in those other 2 parts, the revenue and the dividends and the taxes. So it's a gift that keeps giving. But I think from a Nigerian content point of view, it's also important to note, we started with over 95% expatriates in the beginning. Today, it's 100% management, all run by Nigeria for Nigeria. What are the opportunities? Well, I'm going to speak about the opportunities, the way we actualize that opportunity. So if you go to the next slide, 2 things drive energy consumption in the world: population growth, but also GDP, economic development. And I dare say that Nigeria fits the two. So if you look at it, the world will need more energy. We are growing from 7 billion to 10 billion by 2050. Nigeria is going to grow from the current 200 million plus to 400 million. By 2050, 1 out of 5 people in the world is going to be a Nigerian, and we will need energy, okay? Layered on top of it is what the EVP talked about. There's a big conversation around the climate-related risk, okay? From an energy point of view, we see this as an opportunity. I mean, the fundamental DNA of this company is risk management. So the climate risk, the question is, how do we manage it as a company, but also as a nation? So that's what you see on the right there. That conversation is ongoing. It looks like a threat, but we can also see it as an opportunity because there are things that we can do to mitigate it. So the next slide, please. The good news is that the world focusing on energy security has started giving us breathing space, I'll call it, because what's being said now, if you listen maybe about 2 years ago, you'll be hearing, stop producing gas, stop producing oil. But times have changed. Today we are saying, how do we produce gas into the future? The question is, what is the color of that gas? And that's why I say it's more of a risk mitigation approach to it, to take advantages of the opportunity. The space we play in, which is the LNG business, it's forecasted to grow, double itself by 2050, 700 MT. And that's where the opportunity is, again, because you see the story of Nigeria. But the important thing to note is that the OECD country that consumes a lot of this gas that we sell are also thinking that gas has a place in that transition, and that place is secured. So next slide. The story of Nigeria. This is what makes it happen. I mean, the EVP has talked a lot about it. Yesterday it was spoken a lot about. You can't overstate that we are more of a gas region than an oil region. That's 600 TCF there. I think about 209 2Ps proven that is waiting to be utilized. Okay, so for us, we believe in the push. We'll say the decade of gas was a decade 3 years ago, but it's important to note that it's now 7 years, okay? So there must be a bit of impetus and urgency in how we begin to monetize what we speak to here. And like I said, it speaks to the generation of revenue, dividend, and also taxes to the country that we can use to develop the country in terms of gas utilization. Next slide, please. Where are the opportunities? I wouldn't spend a lot of time here. Important to note is that 51 billion worth of value is yet to be unlocked along this chain. I mean, I did a quick calculation on the Shell projects, easily $19 billion worth of opportunity waiting there. But where we play is LNG expansion, and I like the NNPC presentation. For us, it's about trains 8, trains 9, trains 10. And why am I saying that? Because you need the foreign exchange, dollars, to develop the domestic market. So a conversation we're having in the back room, I'm saying it's and, okay? It is developing the local demand, but also earning the income. And I'm glad to say that the decade of gas also recognizes these challenges, okay? Along those 4 pillars of upstream, which we talked about yesterday, the utilization, the infrastructure, but also the sustainability, which also will be taking care of the conversation around transition that enables the investment to come. Next slide, please. A case study. We cannot talk about LNG without talking about an example of Qatar. The way we are an example locally is the way Qatar is an example globally. I mean, this is a country that has used gas to develop their country. Starting from their 77 million tons. Recently, they just took another FID to expand to 126 by 2027. I mean, this is an example. I mean, they are growing and growing and growing. Next slide. Okay, two examples. Yesterday we talked a lot about oil. Today we're talking about gas. Two ingredients, two income-earning ingredients that you can use to develop the country. Nigeria has both, okay? And I'm just going to leave us with this thought that even though we're in an energy transition, the window of opportunity is not going to last forever. And please, there's still coal in Enugu. Let's not leave any fossil fuel on the ground when we're going. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So NLNG has presented the opportunities, and as you can all see, the opportunities go beyond just liquefying the gas, and because they also play a role as an enabler within the domestic and the international market. So, Yetunde, GACN is a matchmaker, the solid matchmaker that does not entertain divorce. Yeah. We've seen how GACN has been able to aggregate gas and give to the likes of Greenville. We've seen how they've been able to do the same on multiple projects. Now, we want you to come and tell us about the opportunities you see, because you see everybody. People come to you for gas to use in executing their projects. Now, you see all of these projects. Tell us what you think and how you think these opportunities can actually be exploited further. Thanks. Yes, so you can come tell us.
So good morning, everyone. I'll be speaking about the opportunities that exist in the gas sector from the standpoint of Gas Aggregation Company of Nigeria. I'll start with an overview of the company. So for the benefit of those who may not be too familiar about what we do, we were established in January 2010, pursuant to the National Gas Pricing and Supply Regulation of 2008. So that in a nutshell tells you that we're legally established. We were also established to run as a not-for-profit, so we don't generate revenue. Our current shareholders are, of course, the senior partner, NNPC, with equity of 30%. We have Chevron Nigeria, we have Shell, we have Total Energies, we have ExxonMobil, and last but not the least, Pan-Ocean, and each have an equity of 14%. The primary mandate of GACN is, of course, to facilitate and coordinate the wholesale supply and availability of gas being produced from the producers and then being transmitted to the eligible off-takers. Of course, it's still operating within the mandate of promoting gas commercialization, gas penetration, gas deepening, with the potential aim of, generating that long-standing desire to industrialize Nigeria. My co-panelists from Nigerian LNG showed us some beautiful slides about how Qatar used gas to transform their economy and how Dubai used oil. So I like his closing remark. Nigeria has both. So why can we not, tap into what we have and then combine the two resources to drive the economy? Additional functions, we intermediate between suppliers and off-takers. And I think that's the marriage that the moderator, spoke about. So we're the marriage counselor. The gas suppliers come to us, the gas buyers come to us, and we match them depending on allocation, where they are located, and availability. Another important function we perform, the domestic gas delivery obligation being implemented by the NUPRC. So we have the mandate to ensure that all gas suppliers in the market meet their obligation. We also facilitate the gas sales and aggregation agreement. So it's a tripartite between the buyers, the sellers, and GACN. We will do the negotiations We'll ensure that parties, are comfortable with all the terms and conditions. And the beauty of it is that the gas buyers, are mandated to pay into GSTN accounts, and to demonstrate transparency in the market, we will remit those funds right back to the gas suppliers. Remember I said we don't make any money, so we're remitting exactly what is due to the suppliers. But on the back end of that, we're ensuring and we're demonstrating transparency that the markets can work and gas suppliers will not be owed money for gas sold. The network code, we're supporting that very closely with the network operator, the NGIC, formerly known as NGC. For price aggregation and escrow management, I think I touched on that lightly. All the inflows come to us, and we are mandated, to remit that right back to the suppliers net of bank charges. The last point there, which is very important, the gas sector development initiatives, the decade of gas, the gas flare commercialization, the auto gas, anything that the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources is pushing for, we're mandated to supply them because, like too, we oversee the market, we have the good go between the buyers and the suppliers. So we'll do everything within our powers to ensure that the initiatives, are being rolled out and implemented. The next slide is the heart of the presentation, which are the opportunities. So we play across the 3 sectors of the value chain, and I'll start with the upstream. So for gas development and commercialization, of course, we have the gas suppliers coming to us. We have those who have newly been awarded licenses, and for some of them, you might expect they might not have a clue of how to approach the market. So we will advise them on how they can commercialize their gas. Depending on where they are located, we also have the data for the industry. We know the industries that might be, currently situated in that area, and of course we will do the connect for them. We support the NGFCP commercialization program too. We have the bidders who come to GAC, and we help them to put together their bids to ensure that whatever they are submitting back to the NUPRC, is fit for purpose. Moving on to the midstream, several opportunities there. Some of my co-panelists already spoke about that: gas processing, gathering, pipeline construction, coating, metering, transmission, LNG liquefaction, compression stations, LNG, CNG hubs, a host of opportunities in the midstream. I'm happy to say that some of these opportunities too came about from the PIE, and I think that's positive. Moving on to the downstream, the last mile, the gas has been produced, it's been processed. How does it get to the end user? How does it get to the consumer at home or the industry owner? The gas needs to be distributed, the LNG needs to be transported, the LNG hubs everywhere, the CNG needs to be compressed, we need to transport it via vehicles. You are aware of the refilling stations, some of them are in Abuja. The captive gas to power solution too, we're also playing in that space. Auto gas, I spoke about that, being pioneered by the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources and LPG market. So a lot of opportunities that exist, but the key point here is that GACN is available. We're a one-stop shop, a solution provider to whichever portions of the value chain that you intend to play in. We're available. Come speak with us. We offer advisory services. We help suppliers, commercialize their gas. We administrate contracts too. So please speak to us. Our doors are open. The last slide has our contacts, and I'm available till the end of the session today to take inquiries from anyone. We're happy to do business with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Yetunde. Thank you very much. So at least we now understand how you're able to tie people over a long term together. Now, Felix, I will need you here, right? I want you to come and tell us those things that you have been able to do successfully, because I see you know every angle where gas exists in the country. You sniff around, you get it, and you now distribute to your market. You have gas to power, you have all those things. Can you please tell us?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'll stand on all previous protocols. May I have the slides, please, for ASICO? Once the slides are coming up, I will borrow from Daniel's comment on one of his slides. It says the opportunity for gas, the window will not be open forever. And we've always maintained this at ASICO. The window of opportunity will not be open forever. And we really do need to react fast. Now, in terms of the company name, ASICO, not many people here would have heard of us. But in actual fact, ASICO means time or moment. And it was chosen specifically for this issue about moment of opportunity. Next slide, please. So, what do we do, ASICO at a glance? We were incorporated about 17 years ago. We focus on gas and clean energy. And we have been doing LPG trading and distribution and off-grid distributed power. So taking LPG propane to sites and generating power in situ. Those are the areas of coverage. The blue dots are ours. The white open blue dot in Benin is just being completed. And the operations we run are essentially from our suppliers, NLNG and others offshore, as well as hinterland suppliers, which we then move to our various operations across the country. In the interest of time, like I said, I will run through most of these slides quickly. Next slide, please. There are 4 key parts in the federal government's policy for gas, and they are power, industrial, domestic, and auto gas. We've made every effort to participate in every single one of these, despite some unique challenges within them. Next slide. Typical of our current operations, next. Logistics. The power service essentially takes LPG and puts into power. Now, on the normal slide, this is actually a video where you can see this unit operating off of propane. This is about a 1 megawatt unit directly fired by propane. But they're usually dual fueled. All our equipment can take propane, they can take natural gas. This was to address a problem that we found with many of our customers, whereby they would have 2 independent power systems, a diesel system and a gas system, because of their fear of security of supply of a fuel. With this, you had a situation where you can feed the same machine with 2 different types of fuel. Next slide, please. Agricultural sector, we wanted to prove that and expand people's opinions and minds about what you use gas for. We built this gas-fired cold room to drive essentially reducing agricultural waste, spoilage at the point of harvest. And power consumption of this unit was something around 70–80% lower than the traditional cooling method. Next slide. Transport sector, the auto gas, this was alluded to earlier. Auto gas in the vehicular aspect is obviously constrained today by the gasoline subsidy. But that is something that we believe will be addressed soon. Auto gas on the transportation sector, the diesel sector, is much more promising. Next slide, please. What we do today is we take gas from other people's facilities and run them through 2 different parts of our organization. The red chain that you see on the left going through power, and the blue chain you see on the right going to domestic LPG, cylinders, distribution. What we've always, sorry, go back 1 slide, please. What we've always lacked is the bit at the top, which is the infrastructure part, the terminal. Okay, please. Next. This is a facility we are now in the middle of constructing in Ijora in Lagos State. The phase 2, which are the 5 tanks you see under the pyramid, are propane tanks. This facility, when completed, will be the only tri-fuel facility in sub-Saharan Africa. It will be able to take butane, propane, and LNG directly. The pyramid underneath there will be 5 tanks able to take butane. The 12 tanks at the back and the large tank in front will be able to receive LNG. When I'm being facetious, I will say that since this is an opportunity fair, you will be able to come to the pyramid in Ijora and we will not charge you anything for tourism. Next slide, please. Construction, civil works nearly completed. The next phase, steel plates are arriving in the next few weeks, and then construction will start in earnest on phase 2 and subsequently phase 3. This is a borrowed picture. This is what our phase 2 will look like in a few months' time. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, much like Greenville, the opportunity for us lies in essentially distributed fuel, moving LNG along the value chain across our various locations in Nigeria. Next slide. So these are the areas where, next slide, please. I'll run through one more. This is the picture of where we will be at the end of our, please go back. This is the picture of what we are building today. We already do this with propane. What we are now going to do is layer on that a second fuel where we can displace other types of fuel that we currently don't address. So basically, essentially distributing along the spine of Nigeria, LNG, propane, butane, and then going out to the hinterland via virtual pipelines. Next slide, please. We'll skip the video. This is a video that we normally play over time. Next slide. Timeline. We're ahead on some things, we're behind on some, but again, we understand the environment that we all operate in. But our target is to deliver the phase 2 within this year, by Q4 this year. Next slide, please. The phase 2, construction ongoing, mostly completed. Phase 3, large parts completed, equity funding completed, fundraise ongoing, civils construction ongoing as well, because we're building all the civils at the same time. So for us, that is an opportunity anyway in terms of investment. What are the opportunities here in terms of what do we see? Next slide. We have had to overcome some unique challenges with this particular project, especially on the phase 3. The pipeline development, please go back. The pipeline development requires us to use technology and material that has not been used in as many as 10 places across the world. Less than 10 places, and we're deploying that technology here, which is the ability to handle a 200-degree temperature change with a 2-meter subterranean pipeline. And that's a pretty unique challenge that we have overcome. Next slide, please. Materials inspection, next slide. And effectively the opportunity to manufacture. So what do we see as the future? Gas requires specialization. Gas requires upskilling our domestic workforce. Gas requires a distributed base network of end user stations that have to be built somewhere. At the moment, they're being built in China, they're being built in Turkey. All of those can be built here. Gas requires manpower. It was reported, I can't remember, one of my panelists mentioned that they employ somewhere in the region of, I think, 600 people or 1,000. I would like to report on that base that we employ 140 people, 99.9% Nigerian. We have one expatriate, and I'm happy to report that she's actually Ghanaian. On that basis, I'll stop.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Felix. Thank you. I mean, it's very, very interesting that you have discussed this opportunity like that. I think one thing we need to also make clear here is the fact that you guys are so quiet, under the radar, doing multiple things greater than a lot of things that we see. You should start to come out, right? I've known your business for a long time, and you've always been like that. You try to commercialize the entrepreneurship side of engineering, which can be seen from your model. So I'll move to
Thank you very much.
UTM, floating LNG.
Thank you.
The opportunity that only big boys can play. Now you have demonstrated one thing, which is the ability to gather heavyweights around the world to work for you on your project. This is uncommon. Please tell us about this opportunity and how you think the future holds. Thanks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I want to thank the NCDMB Executive Secretary and the board for the opportunity given to UTM once more to present our project and to encourage indigenous company that we have the can-do spirit and we can do it. Thank you. Just move to the next slide, please, so we can take time. Yeah, the next one. Yeah, so currently the UTM FLNG project is on track. We are delivering the project in line with international standard. And the stage we're developing the front-end engineering design. We've achieved 42% in the feed development. And I can say one thing today, that the support we've gotten from stakeholders in the oil and gas industry has propelled us to continuously to invest in this project, because we believe the technology has been proven. It has a lot of opportunity to create jobs for Nigerians, youth, and also create unskilled opportunity for Nigerian youth. And there's a lot of opportunity for indigenous companies like us in this project. Next slide. On the UTM project, currently we're doing the front-end engineering design in 3 countries in the world. And we have a back-to-back about 10 Nigerian engineers that are sitting in Yokohama working with JGC and all the international company. We have additional 10 engineers sitting in Paris working with Technip to ensure that the design is not only done in international standard, to impute Nigerian content in the design. And we see that the project is moving in the right direction based on the schedule that has been set out for the project. We have lined up the international investors. They are all eager. The project is oversubscribed. Afrexim Bank is managing the interface for the ECAs and the DFIs in terms of funding. And every day we go out in the world to engage with investors and potential partners. The encouragement that we got is that the federal government of Nigeria has put in the gas development in the front burner in this country. And that has also given companies like UTM the opportunity to continue to invest our money to galvanize the world best. Recently, you can see that NNPC just signed an MOU with an international company. What I want to take out of that is that an indigenous company led the charge, and international companies are following us behind. This is a compliment that we will give to Nigerian companies that are doing things in the gas sector, who believe in the vision of the country, which said a decade of gas and the development of a decade of gas. For us, this project has so much opportunity for indigenous company who wants to play in the gas sector. We have about 350,000 LPG, propane, and butane that will come into the domestic market to support what Nigeria LNG is doing to encourage the deepening of gas into the Nigerian market. This will open room for companies who have opportunity to build an LPG plant, who need feedstock to power their LPG plant and to make a distribution into the country. We are open for prospective investors, off-takers on LPG. They can come to us. On the project timeline, we're looking at 2026 as a sail away. From next year, we intend to commence a detailed engineering and commence construction. And then 2027, we expect to receive our first gas. And UTM is open to discuss opportunities with prospective indigenous company who wants to be vendors in terms of marine services, catering services, job, labor, because we're going to have a lot of opportunity. Just like we've seen the opportunity in the country, we also want to give back to our Nigerian fellows. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Julius. This is excellent. Now, you're making a lot of progress, and this can be seen all around. So I think what we would like to do at this point is to summarize everything that has been presented, then throw the option to the audience to ask questions. Because the last speaker couldn't join virtually, and I apologize on his behalf, because he's my boss, so I apologize on his behalf, right? So in summary, what has been discussed from NNPC, Greenville, NLNG, GACN, ASICO, and now finally UTM, it's that the gas business or the gas industry in Nigeria has its platform, and that platform basically springs out opportunities left, right, and center. Now, as these opportunities begin to mature, everybody who is participating in the industry is now going to have an option. Julius mentioned, from catering all the way to marine services, fit into his project development activities. Greenville gave an expression. NMPC gave a lot of opportunities. And LNG, right, explained all of that. GSCN also talked about how they are able to facilitate and get people come together to work as one union, right? And avoiding the term matchmaking, but of course it's a union. ASICO discussed the opportunity and how they've been working under the radar to develop their own business. Now, all of these converge into industrializing Nigeria and making Nigeria a go-to place. We are taking our rightful place in the world. We are an energy hub, whether you like it or not, we are that. And I think it would be good that we throw options to the audience. So if you have questions, we'll be open to taking maximum of 3 questions because we're running out of time. So please let me have questions. If you're going to ask, state your name and direct your question to the particular individual so that we can have specific responses. Thank you. So audience, questions please. Just raise your hands and we can call you there. Yeah, so there's one hand there. If you have a mic, you can just hand it over to that hand. State your name and direct your question to the particular individual. Thank you. Madam and gentlemen, I skipped asking you any question because you guys answered everything. So in order for us not to exceed time limits, I decided to give the audience. Thank you. You have to speak louder and get the mic turned on.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ume Kalo. I work for All Energy West Africa, Nigeria Limited. My question is going to Mr. Julius. First, I want to thank him for and appreciate the work and the project. He's someone I've known for over 20 years, and they will say...
Question, please. I've known him for a long time too, and I appreciate him. But ask questions.
Now, he said there are opportunities for Nigerian companies. We want to know how we can be part of the opportunities vis-a-vis the services that we can provide to UTM.
So, Julius, you can give him, I know it featured in your slides, from catering all the way to marine services, but maybe if you can respond to him.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the first thing you should do is you can send us an email, contact@utmoffshore.com. I will respond to you, and then you can set up a meeting with our team so they can take you through the QIC process and how you can get listed as a vendor and then get you shortlisted on the services that your specialty is on.
Thank you very much, Julius. So you can hear everything is done based on process. Another question, Madam. So, but please be brief and go direct to the question, right?
Yeah.
So Madam is there. I think she's there.
Good day, everyone.
So we can balance the gender. Madam.
Hello.
Madam, Sir, please, if you don't mind, can we have Madam? Then after her, you can ask yours.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Dunyo, and my question I would like to direct to NNPC. Thank you very much for that presentation and all you're doing. However, about 5 years ago, just shortly before the decade of gas was launched, we had Year of Gas, and then we had a lot of different policies, gas master plan and all that. And I remember clearly that between NNPC and FMPR, it was declared that we were going to really go auto gas as a bridge, a soft landing to take off the subsidy, such that people's cars, as in the Nigerian populace, can become hybrid. And there was a commitment to at least take off by converting 2 million cars. Today, I was expecting to at least see where we are, at least talking gas and talking decade of gas. Where are we in that commitment? That is one. Also, for the federal government to show how serious and how ready to support both the public sector, the PPPs on that. Central Bank of Nigeria also declared a 250 billion naira, not dollar, as a fund for investors or Nigerians that would want to take on the opportunities across the gas value chain. We would also like to know what is happening to that money, because I know people haven't accessed the money. I've consulted for quite a number of organizations that have been looking for money, forever for gas opportunities. Now, the third one is another declaration that was made to the Nigerian populace, that we were going to have, I think, 1,000 auto gas stations. And thank God for the likes of Greenville, maybe a bit of NIPCO, but apart from that, we've not seen anything. So if we are considering taking out the PMS subsidy, which is very, very critical, and it's been a struggle for almost 20 years, like the PIA, I think the gas is the way forward. And all these things we have promised, how are we doing on the promises? And if we aren't doing well, what is the plan, or is there a new plan? The 1,000 stations, the 2 million cars, it takes just about $200 to convert a car to an hybrid gas, auto, and the PMS usage. So please, I would really like this gathering, or this panel, to give us an update on that and the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think your questions were to NNPC specifically, so we'll let them answer.
Okay, thank you. I think I start with the financials. It will be appropriate if you direct it to the Central Bank of Nigeria. And, at least NNPC is not a financial institution, so that I can say comfortably. Now, to the point of autogas, nothing has stopped. Work in progress. People like you who are supposed to invest are not investing. So, and that is why we are telling you, come and invest. If you have the wherewithal to establish a conversion kit or produce a conversion kit, come. There are people like Greenville, NIPCO, as you call them, are ready to supply the gas, but you do not have the infrastructure. Infrastructure will have to be built. Thirdly, I would also want to put it on record. Yes, NNPC of the 5 years is not NNPC of today. Yesterday, it was NNPC. Today is NNPCL. So an L has been merged to the C at the end. So what does that mean? It's a limited liability company. It cannot, therefore, not speak on behalf of the government. So I believe also for you to get good clarification, clear clarification of some of these challenges, it will be appropriate also to channel it to either the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, as it were, or the Ministry of Finance. We will get appropriate answers. But to also assuage your fears, I want to put it to you, you should be comfortable. The vehicles that were to be, that were promised to be brought in will be brought in. Still, they have to be manufactured, and I believe everything is being done to do that. By and large, please note that subsidy or no subsidy, we have to migrate from diesel to gas, from PMS to gas. Simply put, the federal government cannot continue to pay for your fuel. And I can say this comfortably. It is your fuel, not those that are in the villages. They do not have 2, 3 cars. You might own 4 or 5 cars. So who are we subsidizing? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. So, Madam, just to add to what he has explained, NMPC is an enabler. There's currently a joint venture with Innocin. Vehicles have been manufactured to utilize CNG and LNG, right? The gas expansion program is a CBN program, and he has explained you can go to them. Now, disbursements may not have happened at the pace you want, but this is a financial issue. NMPC would now, henceforth, be looking at only opportunities that make sense so that they don't lose money and we all come back to the pages of the newspaper and blame them, right? Thank you very much. So I'll call on Mr. Ed Ubong from Shell Nigeria Gas. Yeah, he's online. And I think, Ed, if you can hear us, maybe you can just give us a brief 5 minutes at least of what you're doing and the opportunities around it. Thank you very much. You have to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, clearly.
Okay, I know I had some slides on. I don't know if they are being shown on the screen.
Yes, I think
or
they
I can
will
just speak free
share
form.
your slides now. You need to share his slides. Ed, you can start talking while they put things in place to have your slides on.
Right. I think maybe let me sort of start from Bayelsa and what we're trying to do. So in Bayelsa, for instance, we are trying to build the first local gas distribution network for Bayelsa State, working very closely with the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. That project, the early works within the Baran facility has been done, the tie-in. The line pipe construction would sort of start now to take cognizance of the weather conditions. So I'm sure if you sort of move out in another few weeks, you would see line pipes being laid out of Baran into the various facilities. But maybe let me just go through now the slides have come up. So as Shell Nigeria Gas, we're active in 5 states, providing energy to over 130 customers, with agreements with over 150. That's what we sort of want to do. Like I said, in Bayelsa, that line construction, next slide, please. Today, I am actually speaking out of London, where I'm attending the Oyo State Investment Summit, where we are building a city gate that would sort of take gas to the oldest city in Nigeria, Ibadan. The key opportunity there is that the EPC for that piece of work is going to go out over the next 10 days. It's a multi-million-dollar EPC contract, so it's going to go out between now and the end of May. And again, we are inviting contractors who are already interested to also sort of join. And that's the real opportunity, like you sort of asked for it. There's also on the side of that, there is an opportunity also for CNG and domestic LNG suppliers to also sign up HOTs and GSPs to supply us gas in the short term. Why is it short term? Because the major line that will take gas to Ibadan will not be completed over the next 2 years. But we are targeting to deliver first gas to industries in Ibadan via a virtual supply mechanism. So we are very keen to work with current CNG operators and domestic LNG operators who will be able to truck gas into Ibadan to sell gas to the industries that already exist there. One more slide. Yeah, so here we're sort of having the conversation again around deepening the relationship with CNG operators and domestic LNG operators. The ITT for building the last mile to receive CNG and DLNG will also go out between now and the end of May. So if there are expert companies that can build regas and storage facilities, I think they should reach out to us in the room there in the fantastic NCDMB auditorium are two very senior Shell contracting and procurement managers. Laurie Smith, who heads all our procurement, and King Iyaye, who is the contracting and procurement lead for Shell Nigeria Gas. So they are in the room. I don't know if they can signify their presence so that the contractors can see them. And please reach out to them if you're interested in any of these opportunities. Next slide, please. So we are now back to my pet project for 2023, which is the Barren gas distribution. Like I said, the engineering design has been completed, the tie-in works has been completed. There is a procurement and fabrication work that is ongoing. So I think here the real opportunity, because we're very keen to get first gas in here and the contracts have been awarded. But I think there's a key opportunity here to work with companies who are able to provide us operational support when we go live. My asset manager in the East, Mr. Celestin Meni, is also in the hall. So he will be able to sort of have conversations with any company that provide day-to-day operations and maintenance, which is the phase that we are going to require for the Barren project as it is right now. One more slide. I think we're now getting towards the end, but what you're seeing here is that if we are able to connect gas, one industry, one customer at a time, like the EVP for gas, power, and new energies has spoken about, this is the only way that we can ensure that Nigeria begins to switch from diesel to gas. It will take a lot of collaboration from everybody, the investors, the local content operators and contractors, and of course the major companies who are able to invest capex to build out that last mile. If you look at the sort of map, and I'm sure you will recognize some of your favorite brands, whether it is Maggi, as you know it, to Indomie, etc., to Dettol and all of that. All those companies run on gas as their major source of energy. And the list of this map of companies that have switched to gas and continue to operate in Nigeria continues to grow. Like I said before, we have over 185 agreements in place to provide gas to customers. So this is, again, just another long list of where you can play: material procurement, supplying pipelines, constructing the lines themselves, doing the major EPC projects, providing logistics support, IT systems, real estate development. You can't carry out an operation if you don't put in place a few logistics base. That work is going to go out, providing the hotels that sort of provide accommodation for visiting staff. At SNG, we are very keen to ensure that 100% of the work we do is done and sourced locally. That was our record in 2021, 2022, and we are very keen to continue to sustain that 100% local content execution. Today, and of course, exhibited at the first time yesterday, was our first locally fabricated customer station and pressure reduction and metering system kit, which the NCDMB has stopped by together with the group CEO of NMPCL and the EVP for New Energies. This is what we want to do. Where there may have been fabrication done outside, we want to encourage local fabrication yards to complete end-to-end whatever materials are there to ensure that Nigeria switches to gas as part of the Decade of Gas initiative. Thank you. I think that will be all. I mean, as you know, Shell continues to play a key role in just doing social investments. So we're supporting educational institutions, we're supporting health institutions, Of course, you heard about the Library Museum yesterday. We're doing and working very closely with our partners to ensure that, yes, we do business, but we also support the local communities via social investments and social investment projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed. And this is quite impressive. Anyway, I don't think anyone will be surprised. Shell always taking the lead and creating new opportunities and new markets. So thank you very much for displaying the opportunities. And we look forward to attending the commissioning of your numerous projects, Bielsa, Oyo, and the likes. So thank you. There was a last question in the audience, so before we round up, that one question, I think we substituted you for the lady. So can you please raise your hands up?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Engineer Steve Osoa from Octan, Oil and Gas Trainers Association of Nigeria. My question goes with Mr. Ekindayo. What are the training opportunities you have profiled in your company in achieving the desired objective? Because the last time the panel sat yesterday, somebody said that they outsource their training out of the country. And we have so many companies that does training in Nigeria, and they don't have such opportunity to train in most of these companies. So what are the training opportunities we have in the gas sector based on what he has profiled? Thank you very much. And I want to also make it clear that you can't understand or get to know training providers if you don't attend, because we intend to have a training fair by September this year, 5th and 6th.
We're out of time, so they'll just go straight to your question.
Okay, I believe the question was addressed to me. Okay, both in terms of, I will answer both in terms of ASICO Energy, as well as with my second hat, which is as the president of Nigeria LP Gas Association. We work very closely together with the association, who we have driven to be registered with the authority. So we are a certified trainer for all things gas, whether it's operators in the industry, whether it's drivers, whether it's installers, and so on. So we go through a certification process where we take people interested, not just immediate stakeholders in the industry, but people interested through this training process. For ASICO specifically, we do take in interns, and we do, how should we say, coach partner companies, staff, and so on through our own process, usually about a 2-week induction process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felix. So I think I'll just hand over to you so that you can lead us out. We've spent good time here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, please a warm round of applause for all of our panelists. Thank you very much. Gentlemen and lady, NOGOF is all about highlighting and showcasing opportunities that exist across all sectors of the industry. And yes, they focused on the gas opportunities. Allow me to beg your indulgence. Please rise and proceed to the middle of the stage for a group photograph. We also have appreciation plaques for all of our speakers. Thank you very much. The appreciation plaques to all of our speakers. Paparazzi, that is your cue. While we still remain in that pose, let's have the first plaque for the EVP Gas Power and New Energy and NNPC Limited. And it will be on your. Yetunde Odejobi, GM Operations, GACN. Managing Director, ASICO Energy Limited, Mr. Felix Ekundayo. MD CEO UTM Offshore Limited, Mr. Julius Rooney. MD CEO UTM Offshore Limited, Julius Rooney. We also have a plaque for the MD Shell Nigeria Gas, Mr. Ed Ubong. If there's any representative in the room, please join on stage to receive that plaque on his behalf. There's someone coming on this side. All right, so extend our warm regards to Mr. Ed Ubong, the MD Shell Nigeria Gas Limited. All right, so please ensure that you... All right. A round of applause for them as they go back to their seats. Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. I can see the timer is already on. So we have an interesting topic in front of us, and it's ESG. And it's a word that we all hear. So I'll quickly sort of build some context before we go straight into the discussion. So what is ESG and why ESG standards? Ultimately, it's to enable us to get access to financing. So that's really the end game. But for ESG, environmental, social, and governance refers to a set of standards for a company's behavior used by socially conscious investors to screen potential investments. Environmental criteria consider how a company safeguards the environment, including corporate policies addressing climate change, waste management, resource conservation. Now, for social criteria, we'll be examining how it manages relationships with employees, suppliers, customers, and impact on local communities where they operate. Now, for the governance, this deals with government's leadership, which deals with the company's leadership, including the business continuity plan, succession planning, decision-making process, and boardroom composition, executive pay, audits, internal controls, shareholder rights, bribery, and fraud. So I have a very, very interesting panel here, and they'll be taking this topic from different angles as it relates to what they do today. So I'll start with Elo. So Elo, you work with Shell. Can you share with us the Shell's journey to becoming ESG compliant and what the indigenous companies can learn from this journey? As briefly as you can.
Thank you. I can see the time running very quickly. So good morning, everyone, and all of protocols observed. I will just be sharing briefly because ESG is something that in the next few years will be here to stay for anyone who wants to get funding. For us, as a major player, as an international organization, we have had to struggle over the past couple of years to ensure that with respect to ESG, our risk, because basically what ESG is a risk. It's a risk-based approach to funding. The investors are looking to see where they put their money. We are all fighting for the same fund, and they want to ensure that the money is going to the least risky business that they can find. EBNA has already defined, the three main legs for the ESG. And for us in Shell, it has been a deliberate journey, and it is a journey because one cannot say, I am ESG compliant, and then you stop there. Next year, you will be assessed. It's like a credit rating. So you have to continue to do things to demonstrate to investors that you are serious. So for us in Shell, it has really been around putting our money where our mouth is with respect to policies. We have had to put policies in place with respect to how we do our business. We have our code of conduct policies, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. We have policies around how we do business with internally and externally. We have put commitments in the public space around how we will deal with the environment, how we will respect nature, how we will balance biodiversity. We have made it clear how we will deal with flaring in the next couple of years. We have a zero flare policy by 2025. We have also so that's an environment, we have put some specific policies out there where people can come and actually do some kind of assessments and audits to what we are doing. In terms of social, social is internal and also external. How have we done internally? We have set standards. Yesterday we had a lot of conversation around gender and equal opportunities for gender. In Shell, as an organization, we have set a standard of 35% of our top 1,400 executives to be female. And this is a target that we have set for ourselves by by the end of 2025. That is the journey that we are going. And these, for companies here today that, are looking at how can we become ESG, these are the kind of clear, deliberate policies that you need to put on the table. It doesn't say, I will do it today, but it gives a signal to the whole world that you are serious about it and that you will do it in the time that you have set for it. In terms of governance, I think, in terms of governance, just let me land on that. In terms of governance, we've also seen that, for us as companies in Nigeria, we need to be very clear on what our continuity plans are. And so for us in Shell, that's what we want to bring, and that's what we hope can help the indigenous players to see that in the long run, they can also begin to build their ESG journey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Elu. So I'll quickly run to Cyprian to share Total's story and sort of share how can companies ensure that their ESG efforts are aligned with the needs and priorities of the local communities they serve, and how they can effectively engage with these communities to build trust and foster collaboration. I know you would share, but can you be as brief and concise as possible? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So, because of the time, I'm not going to belabor this issue by repeating everything that Elo has said, because it's very similar to what we have done is similar to what Shell has done and is doing right now. Going straight to the question of how can the companies ensure that their ESG efforts align with the community's priorities, and also how can they effectively engage with the communities to see that they foster trust and collaboration. We as a company, we see ESG as basically a way to make the world better, and that is the basis. So today, if you're not respecting ESG, then there's a problem. To do this, we have to make sure that all our steps are collaborative. You cannot do anything and force down on the throat of your stakeholders. So we do collaborative approach. If we want to raise any ESG project, name it, you make sure that there is collaboration. There is a discussion, and the approach is bottom-up and not top-down. That's one. Two, there is going to be a needs assessment. When you assess the needs, then there's also going to be a needs validation. This is to make sure that each project you are implementing has 3 components, and these 3 components can be ticked off. We call it the 3 U's. 3 U's. 1, is this project going to be useful? That is going to meet the need, this ESG record. 2, is it going to be usable? Are you going to be able to implement it? Is it implementable? 3, is it going to be used? So useful, usable, and used. If you tick off these 3, then you are moving a little bit forward. Another way that you have to make sure that when these projects are implemented, they align with the priorities of the community is by being transparent. Remember that for every company, whether you are big, in quote, or small, in quote, there are 2 things you need to have. One is the license. Your license is, let's say, you have an OML or an OPL. That's license. It's technical. But that's not enough for you to operate in this world. You need the second license, which is the social license to operate. And the social license to operate is not a certificate that is given to you on paper. It is trust. It is the acceptance of the community, of the people you are working with. So for us, to get this acceptance is key. And to do this, we make sure that several mechanisms are put in place. So one,
Cyprian,
yes. So
can you quickly?
So to summarize now, so to make these mechanisms work, you have to make sure that one, for the environment, there is a minimum standard that must be respected for environmental index. Then for social, there is a grievance mechanism you must put in place so that the stakeholders or the communities can reach you when they have a complaint. Because if you don't open that window for them, they will reach you, but they will reach you from another angle. Maybe you wake up in the morning, your gate is blocked. Then thirdly and finally, for the governance side, you have the compliance mechanisms that will make sure that people are kept in check when they work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cyprian. Thank you for bringing it down. So, for, Abdul Kadril, you're representing Security Exchange Commission. So can you quickly tell us what is the role of the capital market in ESG and what kind of incentives need to be put in place to encourage financing? Can you be as brief as possible?
Thank you very much, moderator, and good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure for us from the SEC to be part of this very important conversation. So to the point around ESG and capital market, the whole idea really around ESG is to be able to see how we can enhance our operation to now source or unlock private capital. So capital market being the platform for raising medium to long-term financing has very positive correlation with ESG activities. And of recent, you can see globally, if you look at the statistics, in the last 3 years, over 2.7 trillion USD has been raised in ESG-related investment. So capital market has a very good framework in terms of unlocking this private capital. I think that's really one of the key issues that we need to really take into cognizance. In the capital market, there is a framework that you can be able to leverage on as if you are, depending on the kind of issuer category, whether you are a big player or a medium-term player or even indigenous oil company, you can be able to see leverage on the capital market, domestic capital market, we're using this framework to be able to really unlock private capital. And these indices or the matrix that we have in the framework has to do with ESG disclosure, and it has to do with rating of that entity and other track record of that company for you to be able to actually come to the market, leverage on the market, unlock private capital for your own operation. And it will be a kind of impactful kind of investment in that regard. So that is one point. Now, talking about the incentive to encourage this kind of investment, in the capital market, there are good incentive or safety valves that are put in place. First of all, even in terms of packaging this kind of transaction, you need to comply, be ESG compliant, for instance. And there are mechanisms, there are taxonomies or criteria that you need to imbibe as an issuer. So if you imbibe those criteria, the track record, and then those activities has to be around the ESG, be it environmental, be it social, or be it even on governance structure of your own entity. So these are some of the criteria just to give you a kind of brief flavor into what we need to have. Then other things that need to be imbibed or to be implemented or to be complied with is this issue about the competence of the expert that will now review your own outfit to say, yes, you are actually ESG compliance and you can be able to raise money from the capital market as the case may be. That is what we call eligibility criteria. Then the other incentive has to do with a kind of tax incentive, which will really encourage this kind of investors to actually invest in this your entity. So these, in a nutshell, are really basic incentive and basic framework that you can be able to leverage on to now come into the capital market. And the last thing that I will talk about is about this eligibility. If you have various classes of issuers, if you can issue what you call green bond or social bond, or you can even come and issue what you call green sukuk or alternative investment, be it through a kind of crowdfunding. So if you are an indigenous company and you don't comply with those upper requirements, you can crowdfund and you can come to the capital market and raise this money. And then those are the kind of outlets that you can be able to leverage on in terms of instrument. Then for the investing public, you can have institutional investors looking into the ESG kind of investment. And then, of course, now we even have a lot, like the pension fund, for instance. They have a lot of funds looking for this kind of investment. I think the opportunities are really abound, and the incentives are there. In terms of eligibility, we have operators that we have registered that can be able to actually assist, to package this kind of, you as an entity to come to the market and raise money in that respect. I think that is really, in a nutshell, what we do to encourage ESG investment in the capital market.
Thank you so much, Abdul Karim, for making us know and be aware of what exists. Now, so for some indigenous companies or service providers, this might sound intimidating or just high up in the sky. So, Tunji, you work for PIND. Can you sort of tell us and share what PIND does and has done, and where opportunities lie for companies around ESG, and how you can help partner to scale up current gains? Building on what, and you could also build on what Abdulkadir has just.
Thank you, Biane. And the previous speakers have talked about a lot of things that companies can do. Because of very limited time, I'll just say if you can key into what PIND has done around reducing poverty and conflict and having social impact footprints in the Niger Delta, then you will meet most of the requirements that the capital market needs, and you'll be following in the footprints of some of the IOCs here. PIND was established in 2010 really to manage social risk at the time that the Niger Delta was really turning up in funny ways, the kind of narrative that was shown last night, which we don't want to repeat. And it's gone around to really work with the communities, work with the private sector, work with the public sector, works with all the 9 governments, established with initial funding by Chevron, but let loose to work for every other company and support what they do. And part of what's happened is to really shift the focus from the oil and gas sector with its limitations, because everybody can crowd in here, and let people know the other opportunities that exist around agriculture, agribusinesses, services, and other sectors that are viable. And with over 1 million people reached, half that number with improved productivity, like the cassava farmer that's moved from 8 tons per hectare to 20 tons and above, people are moving the needle. And so part of what we can work with you will be to know the kind of things you can invest in, the models that are proven that if you scale up and crowd in and help scale those up, you'll be eligible for the kind of bonds that Abdulkadir is talking about, and then you'll be able to have good records to pitch to investors, just like the likes of Total, Shell, Chevron, and Co. are able to do in that respect. Opportunities do abound. If people are going to look at these, whether it's renewables, where we have been putting solar mini-grids in communities one at a time, at the last count, 20 direct and 40 indirect. Communities are lighting up, and they are happy to identify with those who are doing that, and investors are happy to fund such projects and attribute them to whatever company is involved in things of that nature. So that's what I'd like to say in a nutshell. If we have a chance for follow-up, I can expound.
Okay, thank you, Tunji. I know a lot of people will probably meet up with you after this. So let's come to Olatukumbo. You represent the regulator.
Yes, please.
In the upstream sector. So how can companies balance the need to adhere to ESG standards with their obligation to maximize shareholder value at the same time?
Well, actually, I don't see it as a balancing act. Rather, I see it as adherence to ESG standard, aiding the shareholders' value proposition. Because, riding on what the other speakers have said, if you're able to improve your ESG rating, you have more access to financing and all that. So you don't need to actually do a balancing act. You just need to adhere more to your ESG standards, and then, of course, automatically your shareholder value proposition increases. I would not do justice without mentioning the spin-off from the PI, the Petroleum Industry Act of 2021. If you look at Chapter 3, the host community section is very strong on the S, giving back to the host communities in the operating areas. There's also a strong governance structure. If you look at the BOT, the management committee, the advisory committee, oversight of the set law, and then, of course, the regulatory oversight of the NUPRC. So ESG is embedded in the PIA as it is. And then the NUPRC, as a business enabler, opportunity provider, we're also working on coming up with guidelines and standards for ESG reporting. So we're working on the minimum sustainable reporting standards for the upstream industry. So there's a concerted effort to enshrine ESG performance rating in oil and gas operations. Yeah, thank you so
very much. Thank you so much. Thank you, panel, for speaking and covering this.
Please sit down. Let's take one or two questions from the audience. ESG is very key. We talk about investments, we talk about opportunities, we talk about even funding. One of the requirements these days, if you have to deal with international lending institutions, is ESG. If you are not able to meet those requirements, you won't get fund. And very soon, the local funders, like NCDMB, will begin to ask for ESG commitments, especially as it relates to the affirmative action on women. So it will be coming. So it's an opportunity for people to ask questions. So let's take 2-3 questions before we round up this session. Please. Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to just give room for 2 questions because we're not supposed to be questions after this session, as I was informed. So we'll take just 2. Maybe we'll do 1 male and 1 female so it can be balanced. So can I see your hands up if you want to have a question? Okay, someone is here. It's 2, and I follow instructions, please. I'm so sorry. 1 male and 1 female. The first person. And let us know who you're directing the question to.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. My name is Sayed Ansado from the NMDPRA. My question is for the SEC. The PIA created the MDGIF, the Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund. Source of the fund is 0.5% of all wholesale petroleum and gas products. To what degree has the SEC driven investments toward this fund or driven companies to capitalize through the fund so as to enable the midstream and downstream gas sector grow and ensure energy security in our country? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Chichi. I'm representing the local media. I'm representing People's FM in Bayelsa here. One of the speakers mentioned about if the community don't know what the companies are doing, they will react negatively. I don't know if there's a question or maybe like a suggestion. We're hoping, as local media, as, part of your corporate social responsibility, the more you're also reaching out nationwide, you should also use us, the local media, to communicate to the people of your activities in their communities. Thank you very much.
The second question, please. The second question, please.
Hand over there.
His hand is up.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and the panelists. My name is Daire Akobo. I'm the founder and CEO of PE Energy Limited. I'd like to ask the panelists, especially those of them that are in the producing part of the value chain, what they are doing to address zero carbon. What technology and what communication are you adopting to address that within the ESG framework? Thank you.
So I think we should go straight to Abdulkadir. The question that was directed to SEC.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So I think there's a very particular question that is directed to the SEC. If I get it right, the questions around what we are doing, what do we have in place to encourage oil and gas companies to assess the market, right? Am I right? Sorry?
Funding.
You are talking about funding.
Where's the mic?
Sorry, maybe if you can just clarify because...
He's waiting for the microphone.
Where's the mic? So
Can you give him the mic?
It's important to get your question right so that I can properly answer you. What I hear you saying is about whether we have a framework to encourage oil and indigenous oil companies to raise money from the capital market.
So, sir, there is the MDGIF, the Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund, which is fund to invest in the sector. The SEC is the apex regulator and drives investment in the capital markets.
Right.
So you give direction to companies and also investment banks.
Right.
To what degree have you directed the banks or created a framework to ensure banks, investment companies, investors benefit from the fund so as to push up the investment and build up the infrastructure needed to enable and ensure energy security? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of, if you are coming with a fund, for instance, any kind of fund, when you call it an investment, fund, for instance, why you source money and you now want to channel it into a specific kind of sector, let's say it's an infrastructure fund. The SEC will have a framework for infrastructure fund. So you need to come and register the fund through what we call a fund manager. And then that fund can be able to now source funding from investing public. Then we have a structure which we call we have a fund manager, we have trustees, and we have fund custodians. So we have adequate provision for those kind of fund, for those kind of fund. First of all, you have to register the fund for you to be able to now get the public to invest into it. In addition to that infrastructure fund, we have other kind of funds. We have bond fund, we have equity funds, we have money market funds. So the whole idea is to be able to now reinforce, in court, the entire transaction in such a way that there is safety of the investors' fund because we have custodian around that. So whether it is a fund related to oil and gas or infrastructure around oil and gas industry, you can structure it as a fund and come and get registered. It is actually illegal for any fund to be operated as investment fund without getting registration with the SEC. I think that clarifies the issues. There's one issue around carbon. If I can just touch on that, I know my colleagues will come in. For the SEC, we are looking at that area again as a very important area that we cannot be able to structure a kind of product for what we call carbon market. And this has to do with what we've seen quite a number of markets, where they really open that outlet as an opportunity to be able to even transact or structure, a product around carbon market, and you have investors that would really be able to invest in that. It's a very good structure. We don't have the structure in place, but that is one area that we are really looking at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We do apologize. We could not take more than the numbers that we took, but they are available, and then you can get their cards and their emails to reach out to them to ask the questions you want to ask them. Now we'll be going straight into the plaque presentation, and the first person we'll be given to is Olatokunbo Karimu, the Assistant Director, Host Community, NUPRC. Please. He wants to respond to the second question. Okay.
Can I do that?
Yes, yes.
So the second question is actually about more or less our decarbonization pathway. And it's very important we address it here. The NUPRC is actually leading the charge for the net zero for our upstream oil and gas industry. Last year at COP27 at Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh, we had the privilege and honor to launch the guideline for the measurement and reporting of greenhouse gases and methane emission. It's a signature document, the first in Africa. It's been peer-reviewed with the IOCs, and it's a singular document that will help us in a pathway to decarbonization in the upstream oil and gas industry in Nigeria. I know the IOCs and the independents, they've latched on to that, and we are on track to meet all our set targets for net zero. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'd like to invite Engineer Simi Wambuse to please help us present the plaque to Mr. Olatunkubo Karimu. Please, a round of applause for him, please. And because of how amazingly he does this, he's going to help us with the others too. So this is the second round of pictures we're taking because they've taken the first one already, so. Sir, you were supposed to just present to him first, and then the others. Okay, he wants us to do it fast. The second person is Mr. Abdul Kadir Abbas, and he is the Director, Registration, Exchanges, Market, Infrastructure, and Innovation Department at REMI. He's been given his. Yes, sir. Thank you for following the order. Thank you. The next person is Mr. Tunji Idowu. He's the Executive Director of Partnership Initiatives in the Niger Delta. The next plaque is for Elozino Olanio, GM Safety and Environment, Shell Companies in Nigeria. The next award is for Mr. Alex Agedo, but he's been represented by Mr. Cyprian Ujumi, the Deputy General Manager, Nigerian Content at Total Energies, Nigeria. Thank you. The last but not the least is for Mrs. Ibiene Okeleke, the Managing Director, Energy Training Center. Yours. Thank you very much. He had taken his before. That is Mr. Olatokunbo Karimu, the Assistant Director, Host Community, NUPRC. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. A round of applause for them, please. Thank you.
Please pick up your pads as fast as possible. Thank you. Our question is, what's your assessment for this year's NOGOF? What's your assessment for this year's NOGOF? 1, very successful, 2, partially successful, and 3, worse than the previous editions. Please just know that if you decide to pick worse than the previous editions, we'll instruct the security personnel to block the door. I just felt I should tell you before you start voting. No pressure. All right, if we're done voting, can we have the answer as quick as possible? Thank you. Very successful. I like you guys. Thank you so much. The doors are wide open. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating. And so we're moving to the 4th opportunity session. This is the downstream opportunities. I would like to, with all pleasure, invite the delectable and very intelligent Managing Director of Lois Marine, Basi Alori Adi. Please put your hands together for her. Show her some love, please. Thank you.
"67 years after the discovery of crude oil petroleum in Nigeria, with a total capacity of approximately 2 million barrels per day, one would expect that the midstream and downstream sector of this industry, which is predominantly focused on petroleum refinery, product storage, marketing, and distribution will be abuzz with a lot of investments and activities. However, this sector has been bogged down with some challenges, as we know, including but not limited to inadequate product pricing, gas supply, pipeline vandalism, security, amongst other things. The good news today is that we are here to discuss opportunities that present themselves in this sector and the key enablers for stakeholders to harness these opportunities. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Basi Adir. I lead strategic implementation and visionary leadership at Lois Marine, a marine logistics and service support company providing critical maritime assets as required to operators in the Gulf of Guinea. I have the pleasure to welcome you all to the fourth opportunity session on downstream opportunities, where I'm joined by distinguished captains of industries, regulators who will be sharing their wealth of experience and also key opportunity areas for stakeholders to harness on. For housekeeping, please note that we would be avoiding discussions that are completely sensitive and maintaining full compliance with competition law. Without any further ado, I would like to invite the first opportunity presenter in the place of Mr. Mansour Kulia, the Executive Director, Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund, to give us his opportunity presentation. Sir, thank you. The stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I'll be quite conscious of time, because I learned many participants have flight to catch. So I may not go through the slides, but just to give a brief of what the slides are saying. First of all, I think the MDGF is created by Section 52 of the PIA as a government vehicle to support equity participation, to participate in equity in the development of midstream and downstream gas infrastructure for the purpose of deepening domestic gas market, encouraging private investment, and one critical mandate of the fund is to reduce or eliminate gas flare, which happily Dr. Kelechi is here to shed light on what we have been doing to achieve that aim. Another thing that I would like to talk to is the opportunities that we have. It's a common knowledge that in Nigeria we have proven gas reserve of 206 trillion, 206 proven gas trillion cubic feet of proven gas reserve with a potential of 606 TCF. But the unfortunate thing is less than 1% of the proven gas reserve is being harnessed, largely due to the lack of infrastructure and investment. Yesterday, the ES was taken off about investor apathy, and so that quite important, and is something that really hampers the development of gas infrastructure in Nigeria. So basically, the fund is here to support, to participate with potential investors in seeing addressing these gaps, which we identify some which are very critical to the market, like developing mini energy regasification, CNG compressors, manufacturing of gas cylinders. We have a lot of proposals in that respect, which are looking to and see how we can, start some of these projects. And our source of funding, I think someone talked about 0.5% of sale of domestic product of petroleum product and natural gas, which is one of our big source of fund. But certainly the subsidy regime is giving us a challenge in achieving that. As you are aware, when the PIA was signed into law, the intention was that subsidy regime would have ended sometimes February last year. So, and we still operate subsidy regime in Nigeria. So the question is, if we collect this money, who do we push the burden to? Is it the government that pay a huge amount of money to subsidy, or what else? So it's certainly a big challenge for us. But we are looking to see how we can implement this collection, probably on other products that are fully deregulated. One of the things that we are doing in that, very soon we issue a regulation in respect of the collection of the 0.5%. Hopefully by next week we have a council meeting which will deliberate, and by then once the council consider it, the regulation will be gathered within probably by end of June. That will give us, opportunity to have some collection in that respect. Notwithstanding, we will not wait until that happens that we can finance projects. What other sources of income which are clearly defined in Section 52 of the PIA? We can leverage on that and see how we can contribute towards the development of gas market. So I don't want to take too much time. Let me just stop here for other speakers to mention. If maybe within the course of discussion there are some questions that I will shed more light, I think I will do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Manso, for your enlightening presentation. I like the fact that you highlight the current reserves and the capacity potential for growth, and just highlighting the need that is yet untapped and things that stakeholders can do. And also the importance of the fund. I know the launch last year was stated that Nigeria basically needs at least 20 billion yearly for a 10-year period to be able to bridge the gap in gas infrastructure. And I think it's an opportunity to note that stakeholders are very interested on the details on how to access this fund and the process and timelines to take on equity funding, which I'll take you on later. Thank you once again. I would like to invite the second opportunity presenter in the person of Mr. Cyprian Owegbu, the Chief Downstream Investment Officer, NNPC Downstream Investment Services Limited, who's representing Mr. Yemi Adetunji, the ex-VP Downstream NNPC Limited. Thank you, sir. You may make your opportunity presentation, please.
On behalf of Engineer Adetunji, who will have been here, said I should extend his apologies to the NCDMB and to all the participants here. So I'm here to present the opportunities to for the downstream business sector for the new NNPC Limited. First slide, please. Next slide. This is just the content for the presentation, which is standardized for this business forum. Next slide. This slide we have here looks at the entire spectrum of NNPC business. We are all familiar with this. NNPC cuts across the entire value chain. This specifically for the downstream sector, which we are discussing here today. This is a high-level picture of the NNPC product supply and distribution value chain, right from the crude supply down to the refineries, the shipping, the depots, trucking, and to the last mile retail sector business. Next slide. The opportunities inherent in this value chain, as indicated here, shows that NNPC is a 360-degree opportunities hub. We have our footprints in the entire business spectrum, from engineering, construction, every aspect of oil and gas and allied business opportunities exists within NNPC. So that is what this slide is trying to depict. Next slide. This courtesy of pipelines.com. It's just a typical picture of the products, the values across its typical refinery chain. All these products you see here are most of the business areas where NNPC is virtually involved in. Next slide. On the refinery sector, which is very key to Nigerians and every one of us on this forum here, the current status is as shown here for the 3 NNPC brownfield refineries, which rehabilitation works are currently ongoing. The PHRC one is in the advanced stages of completion. The one in Warri is actively progressing. Same for the one in Kaduna. Then in our bid to ensure energy security, we are also investors in Nigerian businesses and other strategic business propositions. We have a stake in the Dangote refinery, Ezekiel condensate refinery, the African co-location refinery in Port Harcourt, and the Escravos gas liquid project. Then to drive the condensate industrialization program in Nigeria, you know, Nigeria is blessed with our sweet crude that has a lot of liquids, which on the gas end constitutes a lot of impediments since the gas turbines, they require dry gas. So this condensate, which also counts for our OPEC quotas, our OPEC quota if not removed and spiked into crude, we decided to do modular small-size refineries sited close to gas facilities. We are currently driving 4 numbers of this as the first phase in Anon, Oredo, Oben, and Otorogu. On the pipeline side, just to show that our footprint is everywhere, we have decided we are at the point of concessioning the over 5,000 product pipelines NNPC has by private partnership BOT model to bring in investments for other Nigerian investors to partner with NNPC and keep the pipelines in the best conditions to deliver the products. On the shipping side, NNPC Shipping Limited is exploring vessel ownership prospects through partnerships and, where possible, outright ownership. So this is another business opportunity for those of our investors on the shipping aspect of the Nigerian oil and gas business. LPG is also one area where we are involved in. The in-country expansion program for clean cooking. Some of the project sites that have been identified for expansion are already at various stages of advanced completion. The retail stations are not left out. You are fully aware that NNPC recently acquired the OVH retail stations nationwide. We are expanding the retail stations in NNPC. Of recent, 2 state-of-the-art stations were just delivered and in service in Kano and Kaduna. In our drive also to transit to cleaner fuels, you know very well NNPC was foremost in establishing a renewable energy division in the former NNPC. So in this new NNPC Limited, we have formed a new directorate, which is the gas, power, and new energy. So on that franchise, we are deploying solar power stations to over 100 of our retail stations. And this is progressing aggressively. For the condensate refineries I just mentioned, this is just a high traffic light high point of where we are on them. For the projects are at Anon, Oben, Oredo, Otorogu. You notice they're all sited close to the gas plants who produce the condensate. Capacity for Anon is 30,000 barrels per day, while the other 3 is 10,000 each. The feasibility studies and concept studies have been done. They're all hydroskimming-based refineries to ensure we have more white products. This is just a further demonstration of the 360 business opportunity that exists within the NNPC downstream franchise. Next slide. So these are some few pictorials of the ongoing activities in NNPC. This is the Port Harcourt refinery rehabilitation, the movement of equipment and tools to the facility, installation of new boilers. As you can see from this, the work going on there is not the typical turnaround maintenance that we will expect. It's more of bringing the facility to almost a very new refinery facility. Then this one is from one of our investments, which we're happy that SDMV is also a partner in this. And as partners with SDMV in Nigerian content, which incidentally started off from NNPC, we would like to use the opportunity also to extend our business arms to SDMV to come and take equity partnership in the condensate refineries we are developing. We are reserving 10% equity stake for the SDBN to come and join us. We started this with you. We gave you the first years, so come and don't invest only. This is a new NNPC, a commercial one. It's not the government one. We want you to come and join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Cyprian. I like the fact that you really do highlight the areas of opportunities that people are looking out for, especially with the rising energy demands and the move to net zero, just to see what NNPC is doing with the establishment of the Renewable Energy Division. And also I like the fact that you highlight that shipping and logistics do play a huge role in the transportation of petroleum products, all of which I would take on with you in the discussion section at the back. I would like to invite one of our panelists joining us virtually. Mr. Moma Opak, who is represented by Mr. Sani Haliru, who's the GM Operations and Technical Services of OPAC Refineries. Okay, we can see you. Good morning, can you hear us?
Okay, good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, actually. Good afternoon.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, please go ahead with your opportunity presentation.
Presenting Mamojima, who is unable to attend due to some emergency that cropped up late evening yesterday. So I would have been there personally, but for the late notice or late delegation. So I'll present on behalf of Mamojima, Chairman of OPAC Refinery. I have the slides, please. Okay. Sorry, next slide. Okay, so OPAC, I'll just go through this quite quick. So OPAC refinery is, you may hold it there. So OPAC refinery is a 10,000 barrel per day refinery that started way back in 2017 as a concept, and construction progressed through to 2021 when we got approval to introduce hydrocarbon after pre-commissioning, and we've been in full-scale operations from early 2022. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So I'll just, for the purpose of time, I'll just jump straight to the opportunities we have currently within OPAC refineries. We currently have 6 tanks. Process of building additional tanks. So one of the opportunities we have is the design and construction of additional storage tanks, which we'll want to get people capability within the industry to participate in helping to achieve. And the other opportunity we have is maintenance and calibration of static and mobile on the rotating equipment, specifically the tanks which are due for inspection on a 5-yearly basis. So that may be due sometime next year. So we want people, or we have people who play in this area to come and partner and help execute these services. There's also opportunity to install reformer units to process naphtha further into PMS and also process fuel oil into bitumen. So these are investment opportunities for people to partner and join us to invest and put this infrastructure in place to develop capacity. And then we have the long-term vision of the bottlenecking our facility to get to 60,000 barrels per day in the long term, which also throws an opportunity for people to also invest or partner with us to get there. One of the more current opportunities is training of personnel, because we do require a high number of technical personnel to get this business running on a continual basis. And as we know, so there's opportunity for people who provide training services to partner with us or to come and also participate in this. So, sorry, back to the previous slide. Back to the previous slide. Okay. So another major opportunity we have is in product haulage. You jumped. Next one. Product haulage. One of the challenges we have currently is haulage by our off-takers of product, specifically fuel oil. So fuel oil, as you know, it congeals. It has Okay, so it requires heating of this product for it to lower the viscosity so that it can easily flow and be transported, loaded and uploaded. What we have as a challenge is that those who offtake the products struggle to take this product and then to upload it. So there's potential for people who have heated trucks to assist in moving these products. So that's another opportunity that we have. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is where we are. So we started 27. Sorry, jumped back one. Back one. So we started 2017, and we're currently at 2020. In 2023, we are into full operations, and we are hoping that by 2024, we should have these additional tanks in place to enable us undertake continuous operations while we are receiving crude oil and selling products. And then by 2027, that's aspiration. We aspire to get to the 60,000 barrels per day capacity, growing our capacity from 10,000 barrels that we are currently. Next. Okay, so this is a pictorial view of the refinery as we have it now. So on the right you have the tanks, and then on the left you have, quite small anyways, is the entire facility. Next. Okay, I think I'll just stop here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sani Haliru. Thank you very much for your presentation, which is highlighting OPAC's position as one of the 4 locally operated refineries in Nigeria. And I've also noted your timeline and plan for growth, which is commendable, to increase capacity to 60K barrels in 2027. It will be interesting to also note your involvement of local content in that expansion project. Thank you once again. I'd like to invite one of the opportunity presenters also online, Mr. Clement Isong, the Executive Secretary, Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria. to make
Madam.
his
Can you hear
opportunity
me?
presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Madam. Please confirm, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you indeed.
Excellent, excellent. All right, can somebody please put up my slide, please? I have just one slide. Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'd like to start by observing all protocols. I would have loved to have been there, but I have a board meeting this morning or this afternoon, so I was unable to travel. But I think this opportunity fair is extremely important, and I'd like to commend the board for continuously exposing these opportunities to Nigerian businesses. I think it's a key role that the board plays for our country. I just want to use some keywords. I'm talking about the industry as a whole. With the implementation of the PIA, which we are expecting to remove fuel subsidies in the near future, it leads us undeniably in certain directions. There will be optimization and professionalization in the industry. If you do not professionalize your businesses, if you don't optimize your businesses, then you will be challenged because there are efficiencies will come into play, and every business that is not optimized will fail. There are opportunities for innovation. There's a very big gap between the way we do the business in Nigeria and the way the business is done, even across the border in Africa. So innovations by different businesses will attract opportunities. There is likely to be a consolidation. We have lots and lots of depots, over 200 depots in Nigeria. Do we need so many depots, especially when we have refineries in place? There will be consolidations. We have over 33,000 filling stations. There will be consolidations. There's a difference between managing one station, managing 10 stations, managing 100 stations, managing 500 stations. There is a difference, and certain skills and competencies come into play. If you do it efficiently, there are lots of benefits to enjoy. Technology, the introduction and use of technology will aid those who are in the business, different parts of the supply chain, in enhancing their profitability and their sustainability. And then new businesses and new business models will come into play. It looks as if I'm frozen. Can you? Yes, will come into play. And those who properly analyze the risk and analyze the market are those that will benefit from introducing these innovations, these new business models. I've just listed there the key aspects of the supply chain. So in the supply side, with the full implementation of the PIA, there will be, of course, hopefully the Dangote refinery, we thank God, is going to be inaugurated next week. Once that comes into play, there will be availability of products, but the market will be liberalized. So you will be able to compete with supply from the Dangote refinery, from other modular refineries like one we have just seen, and from imports. This should keep efficiencies in place. Efficiencies could mean joint importation or a mix between how you acquire your products. Of course, there are ancillary businesses that come out of those refineries, like we have just seen. One of the key and most exciting for me is the fertilizer and the other petrochemicals that are ancillary projects to the Dangote refinery, which offers extremely large opportunities for the agricultural sector in Nigeria, for instance. NNPC spoke before me, and they also spoke about the opportunities with respect to their pipeline network. There is a pipeline network which was run by the NNPC. Those are national assets that have not been in use. as we move towards optimization, there are opportunities for investors, for those who wish to participate, to either access, because the PIA provides for open access to those facilities, and which help you put in your product in Lagos, you pick it up in Kano, but also to manage those facilities in terms of investing in, like the gentleman from the EVP said. The same with depots. Can I just, with 20, 30, 40, 50 years of price regulation, price ceilings have really created a problem with the quality of our depots, with the maintenance of our depots. Huge upgrades are necessary. So those in the engineering field, there are opportunities now, because it's absolutely necessary that the HSEQ standards are met. So there are opportunities to upgrade depots, both the nationally owned assets, but also privately owned assets, to bring them up to the minimum standards that the authority is going to insist on. There are opportunities, once those depots are maintained, there are training opportunities, there are opportunities to retrain in order to make sure that the human resources requirements, the human resources competence that is required is available in country with respect to maintaining and running the business. The transportation business today is another area. We have, I'm told, about 40,000 trucks. We need 40,000 trucks. And the quality of the trucks, the quality of the management of transportation, the concept of sustainability has to come into play throughout the supply chain. And there are opportunities to acquire brand new trucks. Many of my members are doing so. Many of our members are partnering with logistics companies. The efficient and well-run logistics companies are those that will thrive in the environment that is coming into play. And finally, possibly the most exciting part is with the retail station. You know, the retail station is a geographical location. It's not just the sale of fuel that goes on there, but again, there's a lot of investment that has to be made to bring it up to scratch, to make it the same standard as we see in other countries. The NNPC told us just now that I think they targeted 100 stations, 200 stations. Everybody is going to, at some point in time, introduce cheaper forms of energy in managing their businesses. That is the drive of the net zero. So rather than burn diesel or pave, you can put solar installations in your filling stations. So there are opportunities certainly for contractors that do that sort of work. There are opportunities in automation. I talked about technology earlier. Investments in automation, investments in technology will eliminate losses in your trucks, losses in your stations, and will make your business profitable. So those who are invested in contractors in that area are those that will bring benefits to those in the supply chain. And at the end of the day, training and retraining of staff, again, in the use of these updated equipment is key. I was reading yesterday, in Europe, for instance, Total Energies has introduced charging stations in their filling stations, fast chargers, and those fast chargers essentially take 15 to 20 minutes to charge a car. And what that means is they have opened up hospitality spaces in their filling stations so that those that are waiting for the cars to be charged can have a coffee or can do some shopping. Or these are the kind of opportunities that will arise, which is why we say that there are new businesses and new business models that will arise as a result of the changing international.
Sorry to interject. I just wanted to let you know that we're a bit pressed for time. Just in maybe 30 seconds to a minute to just summarize.
Am I okay?
Yes, just in 30 seconds to summarize, please. Or a minute to summarize. No, I'm saying, can you please summarize in about 30 seconds to 1 minute, as we are a bit pressed for time? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation, and I like the fact that you highlight the necessity for the implementation of the PIA, especially as a result to optimization and the importance of digitization and innovation and the opportunity for new businesses, which I believe stakeholders are listening to. I would like to invite the final opportunity presenter in the person of Mr. Godwin Okodua, who is the head LPG Sales Marketing, Falcon Corporation. As for nothing least, please make your opportunity presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, His Excellency Governor of Bayelsa State, Executive Secretary, NCDMB, Engineer Simbi Wabote, and to all distinguished ladies and gentlemen here. I'm privileged today to send greetings and very warm salutation from my principal, Mrs. Audrey Jo Ezigbo, whom I'm representing today, whom I'm standing in for today. She's unavoidably absent, and she sends her regards. So I'll take you through how we can partner together in this energy sector. So Falcon is a wholly indigenous integrated gas value chain company, delivering excellent goods and services to the mainstream and downstream sector of this industry. And we run on the Falcon corporate credo, which is think Falcon, think gas, and this encapsulates our commitment to ensure deepening of natural gas utilization and energy optimization within the Nigerian domestic gas market. So we are big on quality, and that is why we have the Integrated Management System certificate from ISO. We believe that the Nigerian energy sector, the gas sector, can grow, and we are committed to the growth. If you look at some numbers, the gas sector, our gas reserves is about 200 trillion cubic feet, but we're just producing 8 billion cubic feet annually. We are also utilizing just about 1.7 billion cubic feet, annually. That is small. We believe we can do more. Next slide, please. We are into natural gas processing and LPG trading. When we say natural gas trading, it encapsulates pipe natural gas infrastructure development, sales, and marketing. It also encapsulates delivery of natural gas to industries across the textile, across the power, the CNG, the packaging, and other sectors, just to mention a few. So Falcon is in partnership with the NGML. We've been in partnership for over 20 years, delivering up to 30 billion cubic feet so far. We hit our first gas in 2006, and we've been doing very well since then. We are currently expanding to other regions like Eleme in Port Harcourt, Imota area in Lagos, and other areas in the south and southeast. So we are looking for strategick partners as we go on. We are also into LPG trading, where we've been trading since 2019, taking LPG from NLNG and Greenville. So we are open to opportunities from LPG producers who are looking for partnerships. So we are constantly looking for how we can develop LPG sources, even as we plan to import when we have our LPG storage. We are currently building a 10,000 metric ton LPG storage, which is going to be scalable to 20 metric ton. This LPG storage will be able to use, I hope I have more time. Just
3 minutes.
Yeah, excuse me.
2
Yeah.
minutes.
This LPG storage will be able to handle both propane and butane. So it's able to enable propane-based and butane-based business. So we are able, the opportunities exist. We are able to partner with gas asset owners to develop PNG infrastructure like we are doing at Ikorodu. It's a 32-kilometer pipeline network delivering gas to several industries like I mentioned earlier. We are also able to support gas-based industries like those pursuing methanol business, fertilizer, petrochemicals like you have at Indorama and Dangote. We're able to support those businesses. So you don't have to, come up with huge plans or projects. You can scale your project opportunity, and we are able to, come in. The last person that talked about creativity and innovation. So if you are able to get a market, get source of gas, then the money for building the infrastructure will come in, and that's where we come in. So we can collaborate, we can build business models and come up with viable businesses that can attract money. The slide is faster than I suppose. Can we go to slide? Okay, let's stay here. Okay, just before this slide, there's a slide that shows where we are currently. We are currently building an LPG storage, like I said, 10,000 metric tons. We should come on stream by end of third quarter 2024 next year. So we'll be looking at partnership in terms of transportation of LPG trucks. LPG nationwide, we don't intend going to it ourselves. We want to outsource. So that's an opportunity. We also want to collaborate with LPG bottling plant owners. So there's a need in the industry. So you have 2 LPG bottling plants. One is performing well, the other is not performing. So what we bring to the table is consistent gas supply. We bring expertise in management. We bring support in marketing. So these are easy collaboration area when our LPG storage come on stream. We also are at the Lagos Free Zone, where we are in a consortium in conjunction with 2 gas asset owners. So like I mentioned before, if you have a gas asset and you're looking to optimize and make business from, what we look at is the market. What's the market around that area? For Lagos Free Zone, it gives you the opportunity for export. Of course, you have duty-free opportunities. So that's what positioning at the Lagos Free Zone gives to you. So we are positioned there. You have you're sure of your gas supply and easy registration in terms of setting up your business, your export-based business. That's for Lagos Free Trade Zone. Okay, let me just talk about the opportunities briefly, then I'll round up. The next slide. Next, okay, yeah. So I'd like to talk about the opportunity for virtual pipeline. Okay, the CNG space is in need of trucks, so that's an opportunity for you. They are more expensive than the normal LPG truck. Just like I mentioned, there's opportunity to partner with us on the LPG space, but there's also an enormous gap in the CNG transportation arena. So that's one area to look out for. For cylinders, auto gas and cylinders, according to NGEP, we need about 40 million cylinders. How are we going to produce it? We have Techno Oil producing. We also have Ron Gas producing. But where is the market? How are we going to create this market? And that's where technology comes in. The ES Moment talked about technology. You can use IoT to enable tracking of the cylinders. So what this does is that companies like Falcon can buy these cylinders with the IoT and track them. So you don't need the consumer to buy the cylinder. You buy the cylinder and you give it out to the cylinder. That can also happen for the auto gas. So you have your IoT-enabled gas, cylinders for your auto gas and give it out. So you can always track those cars and supply to them. You can even actually make it just exclusive. I mean, make it design the valve such that only you can deliver. These are one of the ways we can use technology to grow. There's so much the government can do, and I want to cite the NLNG success stories for LPG. When NLNG was introduced, when NLNG started supplying LPG to the industry, we're just at 70,000. Today we're at 1.3. I'll round up.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your opportunity presentation. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you for highlighting how Falcon has basically just positioned itself as an LPG, a key player in the LPG LNG sector, and also highlighting the key investment opportunities in CNG, trucking, IoT cylinders, etc. We will be summarizing this panel. I would just like to take one question, just one question from the audience, and then we will wrap up. If there's any questions. No? Okay, there are no questions, so we can basically summarize. Thank you very much to the distinguished panel for your wealth of experience and highlighting this opportunity. I think what has been highlighted from this session is just the impact of the implementation of PIA, the drive for clean energy, and also the importance of digitization, which I think is an opportunity that stakeholders indeed can harness on, invest in, and present themselves for opportunities. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, our moderator and panelists, for the fourth opportunity session. For the second plaque, to the moderator, Bassi. Manso Kulia. Godwin Ehijele Okodua. We have two persons that joined us virtually. We don't know if their representatives are here. Momo Jima, if the representative, anyone from the company, okay. And then if we have someone from the company, Clementine Song. Yes, somebody is representing Momo. Clementine Song, do we have a representative? All right. The Nigerian content achievements and the modular refineries. All right, if we're done, let's have the answers. Whoa. All right, the Petroleum Industry Act, 50.57%. Can we please keep it back on a bit? And the Nigerian content achievement, 43, is a close one. Thank you so much for participating. Temi?